All right, what's up, everybody? What is going on? It is your boy MM2K. I'm here with Cold Blood. Cold Blood, how you doing today, brother?
Awesome.
We're 24 hours away, man. We 24 hours away from the big day. That is the PlayStation 5 Pro day. You excited, man, or you you're starting to have regrets?
Oh, I am excited, but my excitement is going to have to wait a whole week.
Oh man. Oh, man, that sucks. That sucks, man. Well, it almost was going to wait for me too. Shit, man. Yeah, but your Cold Blood's going out of town, man. He's having a nice family vacation where he's going to be away from his fucking PS5 Pro. So I was going to be responsible for, breaking the ice and showing you guys what the Pro's going to do, and that was in danger. I want to let y'all know that I was in danger, but I come through. What's this? Like, I'm still getting calls. Please tell me I'm still not getting calls from election officials. Anyway. But yeah, man. I can't wait. I'm excited. It feels like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It feels like when I went to go get my Xbox One X, except this time around, there's actually going to be tangible differences that are going to make this mid-gen refresh feel like the shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember that day vividly, man. Going to go get my Xbox One X. I got it for midnight release, and I was waiting to get that thing. And I tell you, when I went to go get it, and I hooked it up, and I was playing Call of Duty. I can't remember which Call of Duty it was at the time that was done. I played some of these backwards compatible. I played Quantum Break, and they felt a little bit sharper, but it wasn't like the power that I was promised by Phil. And it definitely wasn't the power that I was promised by Phil Cold Blood, because when that fucking God of War came out 2018, holy shit. It helped make me understand that Xbox was dog shit. But here comes PlayStation 5 Pro, I feel like, to the rescue. Cold Blood, there's been a variety of reviews. We talked about a little bit. Don't know how much of them you caught. There's been a variety of reviews out there. I say some of the most peculiar ones, borderline clickbait, are the IGN, especially the GameSpot one. Those are the clickbaity ones. And the peculiar one is the Paris Lily. I saw Paris's review. He had one of the first reviews out there. I guess there was a review embargo, and the embargo must have been 8 o'clock or something like that. And he was like one of the first ones out there. So I said, fuck it, let me go see what he has to say. I'll start with GameSpot and IGN first. And if we have time, after we get to the main review that we want to do, if we have time, I'm going to, we can respond to those too. But IGN's review, when you see it, their review basically in a nutshell is, yes, this does what Sony said it was going to do. We just have problems that it's not a new console generation leap. We have problems that a mid-gen refresh is not a new console generation leap. That's our problem with this thing. And it is probably based around price too. You know, they haven't gotten over that. This is a premium product that, yes, in comparison to the last premium version, it's significantly more expensive. But when you look at the PlayStation 4 Pro, you look at even the Xbox One X at $500. And then you look at this is a significant leap because of PSSR, where everything that those consoles promised, you're actually getting here. You're getting 4K and 60. Now, I know Xbox was talking about true 4K. No, and PlayStation never promised that, but you're actually getting more 4K, more 60 in games. And you don't get that with those other ones. You know, so it's a premium product that finally does what it says it's going to do. I've seen no review where anybody's like, yeah, it doesn't do what it says. No, it does what it says it's going to do. And we're going to take a look at the GameStop review later, possibly. But the peculiar one for me is Paris's review, where Paris also echoes the sentiment. Look, games look great on here, but games don't always look better than the original ones. And I'm thinking, because I was in the shower when he was saying that. I'm like, oh shit. He's saying that there's games on here that don't look better than the base model? Holy shit, so I had to run out of the shower, rewind my phone to get, and what he was talking about was, look, he's talking over himself several times because I think he knows that he's being more critical than is reasonably sound. And again, we're critical of some things too. We're doing the live show. Doing the member show. We'll do it again here. That's without us even having it in our hands. But I think on this one particular point, he knew he was being more critical than was necessary, because he was criticizing the PlayStation 5 Pro for in the Pro performance mode for the visuals not looking better. Where Sony clearly says the purpose of the Pro Enhanced versions, like the apex rather of the Pro Enhanced mode, is to take what you normally experience in quality mode and mix it with what you get in performance mode as far as frames. Now, if you want better overall visuals, you're going to get better overall visuals in our quality modes on the Pro. None of that he disputed from what I heard. He was just disputing the fact that all games, which there are some games that even in the Pro performance mode, like he counted out Horizon Zero Dawn, and there was a couple of other ones that he called out too, where even in the performance mode, they look better than the quality mode on the base PlayStation 5, which to me, that's hella impressive. That wasn't what we were promised. We were simply promised quality mode and visuals mixed with performance modes in better frames. Now they fall short because we've seen a couple of examples. We're about to talk about them before we go to these live reactions. But even in Paris's review, it's like they're looking for things to be critical of, and they don't quite jive, in my opinion. So, I don't know. Those are my and we're going to look at Digital Foundry's review. But here's the thing that really I find interesting. the thing that I found interesting, Cold Blood, is that we do have examples of games, and I want to get your thoughts on this particularly. We do have examples of games that are not hitting 60 in the performance mode. Like, we'll sit here on this show. And we even got an example in Alan Wake where in the performance mode on the Pro actually is performing worse than the base PS5. Cold Blood, you're getting a Pro, you're getting it, you know, it's coming day one, you're not returning your, you know, you're excited about it, but what are your thoughts on those revelations?
Like I said in the members stream, PS5 Pro enhanced. What does that mean? Why is there no standard for it?
Yeah.
Like, how in the fuck are we now having a performance mode on the Pro that is worse than the standard one in the performance? That, like, huh?
Yeah.
Excuse me, but the fuck did I pay $700 for again? I paid $700 to forget about all that.
Yeah.
No longer give a shit about it not hitting 60. But now you bringing me right back, telling me actually it's the other way around. Now you have to look at every game and pray that it's running better than the standard one.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually shocked. I'm like, nah, this can't be true, bro. This just can't be true. Something is up. And like I said, these fucking developers, they should not get this for fucking free at all.
Mm-hmm.
This damn badge. This badge should be only for games that have the better FPS, the better image quality, the better resolution, and whatever else fucking better. I don't give a shit. Something better than the fucking standard one.
Yeah.
It can't be none of that worse. Absolutely not. Hell no. You gotta be crazy if you think paying premium for the Pro and getting even less. Nah. I hope Alan Wake was a fucking mistake, and they're gonna fix it very soon. Because this is no Pro enhanced.
Yeah.
This is Pro downgraded. Like, how in the fuck are you doing that, bro?
Oh man, yeah. I can't argue with that. You know, I can't argue with that. And again, people, I know what you guys love to proclaim. Oh, y'all just being haters. Look, man, I don't. I said this in the last show, and I'll say it again here. I know there's a lot of you guys that simply just want us to attack Xbox and sing the glories of PlayStation.
Well, that will be more than enough times for that. But right now, Xbox got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know why you guys want us to just ignore the obvious, which is, you know, a question in that regards. Why is this thing hitting less in the performance mode when we were sold on the fact that, hey, the performance mode is, you know, giving you great performance modes or better performance modes along with the power of the quality modes is what is the apex of this machine. That's when you're going to get the best out of this machine, when it can do those. And we're having a situation where the performance is actually less. Yeah, that's a bug that shouldn't even be existing right now. Like, if I'm PlayStation, I'm going to Remedy and I'm like, take your plate, like, PSSR is important to train here. I get it. But if I'm Mark Cerny, or somebody should be in charge of these pro enhancements at launch, right? I'm sitting there looking at that and I'm like, no, take away the label. And we're not launching this as pro enhanced until you fix that. Like, let's not even make the announcement of dispatch. Let's wait on this. We cannot have performance. To Cold Blood's point, that performance mode label must mean something. And all of you guys who looked at me in Cold Blood and called us haters for calling this out and saying, look, these aren't just going to be CPU bottleneck games like a Dragon's Dogma or what's it? You're going to have games because of poor optimization. It has nothing to do with the machine. It's poor optimization that does it. But Sony can control who gets the label. And I'm going to ask you guys. Again, we're in a room with two people that are overly enthusiastic about the Pro, and I got a funny story to tell y'all about mine, and how I'm about to get it before we do these live reactions. But I just want to know, now seeing what you see from Alan Wake 2 of all fucking games. Look, Alan Wake 2 can get 99s on Metacritic, and you could have fucking reviewers jerking off on each other's ankles about how great this game is. The game a year later, or whatever, however long later, still cannot recoup its costs. Nobody's buying it. Therefore, it's not that important for this game at the launch of this critical machine for you. When I say critical, because it has the potential of blowing gaming forward in a monumentous way. It is not critical for this game to roll out and have a PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced sticker. It's not worth it. I'm going to Remedy, and I'm like, you motherfuckers keep working on this until you figure it out. Like, let's not even roll this out yet. Like, first impressions are everything, bro. Like, yeah, that's my thoughts on it, and I'm sticking to it. You know what I mean? So, Navanzor, no, don't worry about being late, man. Look, yeah, so I'm with Cold Blood on that 1,000%. How come I can't see you guys' chat? Something's going funky with YouTube. Can you guys do us a huge favor? Something's funky with YouTube. It's not showing you guys' chats. And in addition, this clearly is not going, like, I'm starting to feel like there's a shadow ban here. And that could be because of our Dragon's Gate coverage. Yeah, something, yeah, okay. Or not Dragon Age coverage. Yeah, do us a favor, because the notifications are not going out clearly. Let people know that we're live. Like, tweet this out if you can. And hit that like button too. Hit that like button so we can get on with this. What we're going to do is we're going to PlayStation 5 Pro releases, launches. We are going to react to Digital Foundry's. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. Twisted Sin says, hey, MM2K Gaming News, hope you are doing well. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, now it's starting to pick up a little bit. Maybe because we called out YouTube on the shadow ban. Hit that like button too. Let's get to 10 likes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, let's go through some of these comments, and then we're going to go and we're going to react to Digital Foundry and maybe some other people as well too. Holy shit. No one is talking about quality mode getting north of 50 frames per second on everything, even without a patch. VRR cleans that up. Digital Foundry shows it, but don't give it much gas. Real World Vision, we're gonna take a look at that. I heard Red Dead Rising remake and Dragon Dogmas 2 are getting upgraded on the Pro. Yeah, they are. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2's Pro enhancements is what sold me on the Pro. Even though the one that has me most excited right now, like right now, like as soon as I open this motherfucker up, I'm sinking my teeth into it, is Stellar Blade. Like I'm finishing Stellar Blade. Everything else that I'm playing can kiss the back of my balls. I'm finishing Stellar Blade as soon as I get my Pro. Like finally. You guys can laugh at me, say MM2K, you're a noob, you don't know how to play. I don't give a fuck how many times I die. I'm beating Stellar Blade. I fucking can't wait. That's my game of the year. I'm so excited. I can't wait to finish that game, man.
No, you're lying. You're lying.
What's that?
Your favorite game. Your favorite game is Dragon Age.
Oh, yeah, right. No. You know what? Not to get too much in that game, but I will say that Dragon Age combat has gotten a lot better than those first 3 hours. We'll talk about it on the members show. There's something going on to where I think there's some other content creator that said something about that, and I was like, you're just making an excuse. You're just trying to make an excuse for them. There's a bunch of agenda written. I think there were 2 writers in this game, and there's multiple groups that had different agendas dealing with this game. I'm clearly on a part where the team that's like, fuck everything else. We want to make a badass Dragon Age game. I'm on the part where they have the influence. The writing isn't as cringy, but as you can see throughout the game, there's bits and pieces with it. So I'm in a good part of the game. There's so much going on with that game. It's insane, but whatever. I feel like it's good, but it's still not worth the buzz. You know what I mean? But yeah, check out my reviews for that. So I am enjoying the combat right now. That being said, oh hell no, we ain't nothing fucking with Stellar Yams. The Dragon Age, you can do all this other shit, but they doing nothing but giving you pancake asses on Dragon Age. He says, Twisted Sid said, now it's a solid 60. I'm giving it like a 7.5 to an 8. The last 2 hours, the experience of the last 2 hours. Overall, I would say it's still a 7. Because the part that I played last night wasn't as good as hour 5. See, it's like, it just goes through these ups and downs and shit like that. The writing is still better. There's clearly multiple teams working on this. I think a tug of war was happening with the game. It's a shame. Whatever. And I think that's part of the reason why they, like I was telling Coldblood when we were having a conversation, I think they abandoned, that's why there's no DLC coming for the game. There's no reason for there not to be DLC. They look at the clusterfuck of a response. I mean, I get that there's sales success, but I don't think that EA was living in reality and understood the clusterfuck of a response and the controversy behind the game. And now they don't want this carrying over to Mass Effect. That's why they're just like, we're done. It sold fine. Okay, we're done. They did it to themselves. They should have just, the people that are working on it now, like you could have had all the inclusive stuff or whatever in there as far as representation visually, and you could have had all that stuff in there. You could even had some writing that didn't make it feel cringy and lecturish. You could have had that in there by the people that are writing. Clearly the people that are writing, that are part of the writing now on the section, these are not the same dodo heads that were part of the writing at the beginning. Fuck no. That's what happens when you're not when you're not acclimated to reality. You got your own siloed version of the real world. So he says, oh, Velgard, he said, I meant metaphor. Metaphor? What do you say, Coldblood? You think metaphor is only a solid 60 now? What are your thoughts on metaphor?
Hell no. Are you fucking drunk? that just is easily a 9.
Yeah. Real Royal Vision said it's a club, and if Remedy, Saber, or any other incompetent dev can't perform, then they should not get the label. Yeah. Let's do a poll real quick, y'all, and then we're gonna get to the actual show. All we need is one more like. Give us one more like, and then we're gonna do a live reaction to Digital Foundry's. Let me do a poll. Start a poll. Do you think games like Alan Wake 2 with worse performance, with lower frames in performance mode should get a pro enhanced? We're going to throw the poll out there. Thank you for the 11 likes. We're going to move forward. But do you think games like Alan Wake 2 with lower frames in performance mode should get a pro enhanced label? I say no. I said, like Coldblood said, if a game is getting that pro enhanced label, I think it should be 60. Like there should be a flat 60, you know what I'm saying? I can understand a Dragon's Dogma, whatever, but maybe it should be Pro Ultra, a Pro Ultimate. You can have enhanced and you can have ultra. Ultra just like, yeah, upscaled 4K, flat 60. And Dragon's Dogma getting a pro enhanced, which would be tier 2. There should be 3 tiers: a boost, enhanced, ultra. And a game like Dragon's Dogma being in enhanced, where it's not always a flat 60, I'm okay with. If, you know, I see a Digital Foundry video or whatever that tells me that it's ranging between 55 and 60 most of the time, then I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. Because then that leads me to believe that if that unoptimized mess can do that, makes me more hopeful for GTA 6. But a game like Alan Wake, motherfucker, please. Motherfucker, please. And before I go live, see, that's why we caution y'all. Stop trying to call us haters all the fucking time. Like, do y'all, I am not, are y'all that insensitive to what you like that you gotta hear somebody agree with what you like all the time? Or do you want somebody that maybe be looking at something from a different perspective that you didn't think about? Stop labeling us hate. I mean, it doesn't offend me, but I'm telling you for your own sake, because I know to follow my own advice. And I don't get stuck like Chuck. I don't get beat over the head with a cash register like y'all do. We were arguing this with y'all months ago. Y'all were telling us in the chat, you guys are hating. You guys are finding ways to make mountains out of molehills. And now that you're seeing it in real time, now you're saying what we said months ago. Oh, hell no, it shouldn't get that label. Duh. But guess what? You made it okay. It's too late now. Well, it was not too late. Maybe that's a little bit hyperbolic. But you're dealing with this longer than you had to. Versus y'all taking a stance as soon as the shit happens. And then Sony may be saying to, look, Remedy, look, man. we really want this thing to be pro enhanced, but you hear them going crazy out there. We can't release this like this. Here, let's not announce it. You guys are still working on it. It's going to get pro enhanced, but can we do something about it not having, you know what I mean? It dropping frames more frequently than, like, at no point in time can this in the performance mode have less frames than the base model, period. Okay? You got to understand that. You got to understand that. So put this back in the oven, we'll release it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they do that and save you guys the heartache of having to explain that. But you see what happens? Some y'all right now are in the chat validating what we tried to tell y'all months ago. This always happens. Aren't y'all sick of this shit? Concorde's gonna flop, ain't gonna be. Remember that cold blood? Oh, you're a liar! You're a liar! I can't come back here.
Just literally 99% of gamers said Concord gonna flop. Oh, you're a liar. You're a liar.
You're a liar. Aren't y'all tired of that? And again, we're not trying to, pull your chain. Be self-aware. We're not doing this to hate. We're in advance, whether it's Cold Blood calling out first, me, both of us. We're trying to look out for you so you can be proactive on this shit. Alan Wake does that. When you're not proactive, this is the shit that happens. This is what happens. You get a fucking pro performance version with less frames than the base model. Now, is that piss poor optimization? Is that Sony's fault? No, we weren't saying it was Sony's fault. But Sony has power over the perception. Sony is what we call the stopgap. The final stop to say, look, we really want to sell more of your game and help you meet your budget. As a partner, we really care about you. But we don't care about you more than we care about our own brand. This right here has a performance mode that performs worse than the base model. Take that back. Y'all can dance on the stage or do whatever the fuck you got to do to get it better. You know what I mean? All that shit is charming for, the Game Awards. Come back and dance over here at Sony headquarters when that motherfucker has better frames. Otherwise, get this out of here. You're not getting the label. Have a wonderful fucking day. That's what should be happening. And if Remedy gets mad, who gives a fuck? It's Remedy. I should stop this poll and do another poll and ask y'all how many of y'all got Alan Wake. And after there's two votes, after we get the 2 votes, then we can move on. You know what I'm saying?
No, but for me, I ain't getting it because it looks so fucking funny on the Pro.
Yeah. They gotta do better. Had it not looked so bad, or had it, I won't say, no, that's hyperbolic.
I might have tried it then.
Yeah, had it not been for this fuck up, I would have probably said, okay, let me get it. Probably at a discount now, and that would have helped out Remedy a whole heck of a lot, but no. And this isn't your first rodeo, Remedy. If the people at Stellar Blade, like I get it, you got a lot more going on in the game, but if Stellar Blade can do it better, man, fuck that, man. I ain't shit. Twisted Sense said you shouldn't get the badge at all. That's all we was saying.
Yep.
That's all we was saying. That's it. Do y'all understand now? I'm sorry, I'm taking away precious time because we do want to get, but I got to take advantage of the opportunities when they're there. Y'all sat here and went.
Moss. Would you give Remedy the badge right now for that dog shit? Okay.
Fuck no.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear.
That's all. But that's all. And I wanted to point this out whether you do or not. Y'all sat up here and argued with my bro for like 45 minutes. I don't care if y'all argue with me, and I don't think he can, but y'all argue with him for 45 minutes over, he was just trying to tell you how to look out for yourself. And again, we welcome debate here. It's just sometimes we scratch our head at it because sometimes you guys got to be self-aware that you're so much in a mode of trying to defend PlayStation. Like if you say something negative, you know, the stock will plummet or something like that. You say something negative on YouTube, for crying out loud, that the stock, one person says something negative, the stock will plummet. Y'all are so indoctrinated in saying, being positive about all things PlayStation, that you cut off your nose to spite your face. No, not you, Twisted Sin. No, not you, brother. Not you. Not you, Twisted Sin. Let me make that abundantly clear. Not Twisted Sin. But I'm looking at the poll and so forth, and y'all clearly agree. Y'all clearly agree. Nobody believes that. Shit. All right, listen, I just had to point that out, man.
Yeah, but Mouse, the people have to know, I hate being right when it's about negative shit when it comes to PlayStation. Trust me on that. But unfortunately, I see a lot of fucking red flags all the damn time. Mm-hmm. Even more so since fucking Herman got the position that he got.
Real Warrior Vision says that ain't PlayStation, but I feel, no, it is PlayStation. PlayStation didn't do the poor optimization, Real Royal, but they're responsible for it getting the label. Like, okay, you are PlayStation. You have a brand that towers over all things gaming. Towers over all things gaming. I'm a little remedy, and I'm just down here, just little bitty remedy. You understand what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck how many awards they get or how many times they dance on the fucking stage and shit. I don't care how many times they do that shit. They are not moving the needle for PlayStation at all. If anything, they need PlayStation. They should have let PlayStation buy them if PlayStation wanted to. Probably didn't want to. And you're talking to somebody that was a huge fan of Alan Wake 1. But the reality is the reality. So my thing is, I'm not letting this itty bitty company take my coveted PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced label, especially at launch. I'm not letting them shit all over that and come out with a game that the performance mode, the thing that we've been selling most with this, the performance mode is actually lower on it. Man, get the fuck out. And it might be a bug, but you better figure it out before you get to. So I go to them, and they need me way more than I need them, because they need this Pro Enhanced label in order to sell their fucking game. So I go to them, I say, look, I know you want this. I know you want this bad. You got to work a little harder for it. Let's not release this label just yet. You hold back on it. And the sooner you guys fix this bug with the performance, I promise you, we'll release it with the label, and copies will fly off the shelf. Because you're going to have, millions of gamers. I would say like 1 to 2 million gamers that, are going to be looking for games to play Pro Enhanced. And if this is getting good marks across the board, this could be one of those games that gets a significant boost. But I understand my worth, and I'm not letting little itty bitty remedy destroy that and embarrass that. Fuck no. If that makes sense. Does it go sub 48 frames? If not, then we can really use, since you're supposed to have a VFR display. Nah, I don't agree with the label, but it may be why you get it.
No, wait.
Whatever
is Is the PS5 Pro enhanced label saying a game should run in the range of VRR? Because if that is the fucking case, bro, you better get rid of that shit.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that.
That's not. Yeah, they don't make that a stipulation. Real Royal, you tried, bro. You gave it a good effort, bro. No, the game just needs to perform better. It needs to perform better at the default modes. Whatever mode it performs in the base model, it needs to outperform it in all mode. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Yeah, Cree86. That's what we was arguing. The label doesn't mean anything. That's what we kept telling y'all. That's the problem. There were no standards set with the label. That's what we were bringing attention to. That's it. That's it. And we said, if they don't bottle that in, you're going to run into situations like this. And what it is that Remedy is desperate, bro. Nothing that they make sells. They're desperate. They partner with this one, do this one. Next, they're partnering with Kit Kat. Kit Kat is publishing their games. They go with McDonald's to do the hard copies. They're partnering with everybody. Them motherfuckers got to be hemorrhaging money, man. They're on a single thread. So they want to get this PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced label ASAP because it's a huge opportunity for them. They got to work for it. They just got to work a little bit harder for it. That's all. All right. Let's get into these. Let's get into the review. Digital Foundry. Let's react to what they got to say. Digital Foundry is going to be doing a PlayStation 5 Pro review. I have not seen it. We're going to watch it together, and then we're going to live react to it during the thing. Cold Blood, I'm going to put it on right now so you can hear it, brother. Let's do this right now.
There's going to be a lot happening over these next few days.
All resources are being deployed, which brings us to Oliver McKenzie. Hello.
Yes, Rich, the next few days and indeed possibly the next few months, you'll be very busy with PS5 Pro content, I suspect.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's just get straight into it. Let's talk first of all about hardware. Impressions. What do we make of the console? Now, John and I shared some initial impressions in the epoch-making unboxing video that we did. And, generally, I think the takeaway was that it's a very well-built, decent console. It's much smaller than we thought. 3.1 kilograms. It's lighter than the launch model by a considerable degree. I'm actually quite taken with it. I think it's pretty good, and I can't comment on the thermals without ripping it apart and inserting probes, etc. But it's just as quiet as any other PlayStation 5. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I was, as you saw from the unboxing, I was taken aback, surprised, I would say, by the size. The size reduction compared to the base model. I think it's a more attractive looking unit. And I think that actually goes a long way. But at the same time, it also feels very familiar once you actually get going, right? You slap the disk drive on there, as I did. That process, this was my first time doing that process. It went fairly smoothly, I would say.
Yeah.
Although it required a firmware update before I could actually do so.
Yes.
It went through all that initially, get it hooked up, and then it just behaves exactly like a normal PlayStation 5. And this is actually kind of an interesting point because that was one of the big differences between the 5 and the 4 Pro. Because with the 4 Pro, you instantly got that 4K UI and the whole user experience felt tailored for this new machine. But obviously, we're already in the age of 4K, so you don't get that. And as a result, it just feels like a continuation of the PS5. But still, as you said, the hardware itself is nice. The ports, everything on it is well located. I feel like it's a solid machine overall based on these first few days with it.
Yeah, the optical drive does have the online requirement as well. We've got some capture of that here.
Yes.
A bit unfortunate. I still think that the Pro being a Pro model and the fact that it's appealing to the core enthusiast who's probably been with PlayStation for years should have had a physical drive in the box.
And I want to note, Rich, real quick on that. I was looking for games that are PS5 Pro enhanced, like Motorfest, The Crew, Lords of the Fallen and such. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll grab those real quick. The prices on the store are still $79.99 for Lords of the Fallen, $69.99 for The Crew Motorfest. I instead found copies online for $15 a piece. So it's just an illustration of why it's not just about collecting or preservation or anything like that. It is a price thing. Basic and yes, economics. There are sales sometimes. Exactly. If there's no competition in that space, that's not good for your wallet. And I think that's definitely a situation here where if you're a new PS5 Pro owner, you can't find the disk drive, you don't have the disk drive, you're going to be getting raked over the coals.
Right. Okay. Oliver, let's talk about your impressions of the unit.
Yeah, it's surprisingly not that large. Even though I've seen the hardware before, it was still a little bit surprising to me. It's just a little bit larger than a PS5 Slim model. It's smaller than a PS5 launch model by quite a margin, I would say. And it's quite light as well, like you mentioned. Quite similar looking to a Slim machine. I kind of wish they'd done a little bit more to differentiate it. Maybe a different color for the faceplates, maybe a bit more of a break, or maybe like a spike or something bold, right? Between those two faceplates. They've done that kind of 3-stripe design, but it's not that distinctive, I would say. Even the PS5, or rather the PS4 Pro, I think was a bit more distinctive in its physical characteristics with that kind of 3-layer sandwich as opposed to the 2-layer sandwich of the base PS4 unit there. But, with respect to that PS4 Pro, that unit had a bit of a reputation for being very loud, especially as it matured. And here, I noticed when I powered the unit on, it was very, very quiet. The heat that came out of it was of a similar character in terms of its hotness to a regular PS5 console. And I think that probably like the overall design is pretty well designed here. And I suspect it will probably age pretty well because the PS5s that I've had have aged quite well as well. So I think this will probably be a console that continues to be relatively quiet, continues to be pretty well behaved under load, at least over the lifespan of the console, I would suspect, based on what we've seen so far with the PS5's design.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to go a bit deeper now. I want to talk about the HDMI controller on the PlayStation 5 Pro because...
All right, so real quick, and I've heard this on multiple reviews that it's good. It doesn't sound like a jet engine. It seems like it's real put together, and nice and quiet stuff. Ergonomically, it's not huge or anything like that. So that's a plus. Any thoughts on that, Cold Blood, before we move on? I think that is enough.
No, wait.
Okay.
Only thing I could say right now is don't get up in arms about the online requirement for the disk drive because they are literally required to do that. It's not because they really want you to sign that shit to a console online and stuff.
Yeah.
Now they have to do it by law, I guess.
Yeah.
So if they say that is a minus, Brad, nah. That's stupid then.
Yeah. Digital Foundry, man. Like when it comes to technical reviewing things in pixels, that's their specialty. Anything outside of that, it's just like they pluck shit out of the sky and they really don't have the knowledge and background to understand what's really what. So yeah, that great observation. That totally slipped my mind. Yeah, it was a law that made that a necessity for Sony, and yeah, that's not a feasible knock for them.
John, there's problems with the HDMI controller on the base PlayStation 5, 32 gigabits per second bandwidth, which basically means that you can't get 120 hertz output at 444 or RGB, right? It's Chroma subsampling down to 422, right?
That's correct. And yeah, for those unclear with chroma subsampling, you're essentially processing the different colors at a different resolution. So you lose some fidelity. It's actually very difficult to spot during normal games. It's most obvious if you load up something like a very fine per pixel image, like a computer desktop or small text with a lot of detail in it, then you can actually see some of that fringing and a little bit of noise and artifacting around things. We had hoped that the PS5 Pro would essentially conquer this because, as we know, it now supports 8K output, which you'll get to in a moment there, Rich.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the 4K 120 mode is still limited to 422. So even if there have been changes made, it does not address this fundamental limitation, and we're still limited to 32 gigabits per second, it seems, as a result, when in 120 hertz mode.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? 8K output requires essentially twice the bandwidth of 4K at 120 hertz. So the display controller has got to be upgraded, right? That's just pure logic. So we kind of think it is, but not in the way you might expect. So we've got capture here of a PS5 Pro attached to an 8K screen. Now, looking at the signal types supported, we've got 8K there, or 4320p. But looking at 4K, 120 hertz is still limited to 422. So now, connecting the Pro to my 8K capture card, the Pro isn't having it. The menus say I need both 60 hertz support, which I have got, but also DSC, which my capture card hasn't got. DSC is display stream compression. So theory crafting time here, but I think Sony has added compression support to the display controller, but it's likely still limited to 32 gigabits per second of bandwidth. I guess the good thing is that display stream compression is lossless, to the best of my knowledge, so there's no loss of quality. And actually on an 8K supported screen, you will get full resolution 8K RGB support at 60 hertz with HDR. But as there are no capture devices I'm aware of right now that support DSC, we can't show you 8K at the moment. That was the problem we had when we went to visit Codemasters for the F1 opportunity a few weeks back, which is quite interesting. 8K, John, still not interested, right?
No, not currently. I mean, I think what that fundamentally means is that everything's going to be scaled, barring these few random examples. And I'm not into that, even with a pixel density like that, which would help a lot. You're still going to be relying on upscaling, which introduces some additional blur to the final output unless you do a nearest neighbor scale. And, you know, I also don't want any additional processing on top of that. And like you said, there are fewer 8K displays now than there were in 2020, I would say.
How did you work that out?
Well, at least from certain lineups. For instance, LG used to offer more 8K displays, right? They've kind of rolled that back. They had these top-end 8K OLEDs even, and there's just less of this stuff now. Basically, if you go to your local display store and browse around, you'll find that where once there was many 8K screens on display in sort of a showcase fashion, there's now just 4K larger screens. They're pushing up towards 100 inches and beyond now, which is interesting. Yeah, but I think it's just, we've realized that 8K, it's just at the moment a bridge too far in terms of delivering content, right?
Also, I mean, I think from Sony's perspective, even though they're shipping an 8K console, the world's first 8K console, in fact, which you'd think would be a point of some marketing triumphalism, you know?
Or at least a label on the box.
Right.
Well, exactly. They don't have a label on the box, so they don't really seem to want to tell people it's an 8K console. Maybe they're worried that people with 4K displays will think, oh, this isn't the console for me, or something. But just to speak to John's point, I think Samsung is the only TV manufacturer that is now shipping 8K panels every single year.
I think you're right.
Other manufacturers, like, you know, the top-end LGs, the top-end Sonys, they're all, whether you're talking about LCDs, whether you're talking about OLEDs, they're all 4K sets this year in 2024. I think they were all 4K sets as well in 2023. So it really, you'd have to go back a couple of years to find like 8K Sonys, 8K LGs. And like for my purposes, yeah, they are getting cheaper, but like I looked at the QN900D, which is an 8K version of the QN90D that I have back there. I was considering buying it, possibly, when I got that panel, but it costs more than 3 times as much as the QN90D in the same size. And also, the panel is worse in some respects. It only does 1400 nits peak brightness, not 2100 nits as my QN90D. So for my eyes, my light-loving eyes, you know, 2100 is a lot better than 1400. So for sure, for me, it's like, well, you spend 3 times as much. Most of the time you're getting probably a worse image because it's scaled, and you're getting a worse panel possibly as well. So it just seems like kind of a raw deal.
And frankly, at that pixel density, unless you're way over 100 inches, I feel like the difference is extremely difficult to appreciate.
Your eye can't really resolve it too
Like
well.
in a PC situation, more so because you sit very close, but watching a TV from and even a close viewing distance, your eye can't resolve that detail.
Yeah.
Which is perhaps the point. It's like the whole retina display concept, right? This whole thing of like, there's so many pixels that you can no longer distinguish the pixels is what they're going for.
Yeah.
But still, not really.
I've said it before, but to me, 8K basically represents really good anti-aliasing as opposed to, you know, a massive boost to core image quality. And it's good anti-aliasing when viewed at a distance. I did see the F1 game playing out at 8K, and it's fine on static menus and stuff, and it's fine in game when the movement isn't really a thing, but in motion there is breakup because it is, you know, a TAAU upscale from 4K. It's a technical curiosity. It's a nice to have, but it's not a defining feature of the professional, I don't think. Okay, let's move on. We've just been talking about the menus.
Okay, so they're going to PS4 image quality enhancement. I'm looking at, like, we could have totally skipped that part. That's my fault. So Cold Blood, next up is the PS4 image quality enhancement. Do you think that's worth covering, or?
Yeah, most of course.
Okay, all right, we'll go.
I mean, it's a feature,
These
right?
also include
Yeah.
A PlayStation 4 image enhancement feature. Now, we didn't really know what that was before we actually went hands-on with the unit. We were thinking maybe it's just like, okay, extra horsepower means better image quality and dynamic resolution scaling games, but that's not the case. It is a feature that's toggleable on the menu, and it does actually do something quite interesting. Now, Oliver, you're going to be doing a full video on this, but how about some cliff notes on your observations?
Yes, I'll give you the rundown here. So essentially, you boot up your PS5 Pro, go into that display settings menu. There's an option to enhance image quality for PS4 games. It says enhance image quality in the settings for PS4 games. It's turned on by default. So if you boot into PS4 software, you'll kind of figure out what's going on pretty quickly, I think, if you turn the setting on and off, which is that you see quite a noticeable difference in the appearance of those games. If you look at 2D elements like UI and text, they actually look quite 4K now. Text is a lot sharper. 3D content is also altered considerably, like in a game like Destiny, where the aliasing artifacts in the original have been smoothed a little bit. The lines look clear. The image almost looks like it has anti-aliasing that's being performed in a 4K pixel grid, so it kind of aligns with a 4K pixel grid there. So it looks a bit cleaner. But when you do resolution counts, you quickly realize, like, okay, this is a filter because the base game content is still being rendered at the same resolution. You're not getting any kind of additional grunt there. You're really getting a post-process filter, it appears like. The issue is that it doesn't really do anything for temporal aliasing, given that it's probably working on a single frame as input. As a post-process, it gets tripped up pretty easily by post-processing. So if you have like chromatic aberration, it doesn't really know what to do with that. If you have film grain, like I played The Order, and it just doesn't really know what to do with it, so it doesn't do too much, it seems like, because there's film grain all over the image. It also doesn't seem to apply to games that output above 1080p. So like in Overwatch 2, for instance, that's a 1080p game, but the UI is 4K. It doesn't apply at all. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's cool. I have done some comparisons that I'll go into in a standalone video with LS1, which is a lossless scaling machine learning algorithm. I've also done some comparisons with FSR, with the RTX super resolution that's available on NVIDIA GPUs. And it is kind of comparable to those solutions, I would say. It's giving you a better image in a lot of respects. It can give you a noticeable improvement, but it's not going to be a game-changing improvement. It's not going to be like the LSS or PSSR for that matter, or FSR2 or any of these other solutions that can do so much with so many more inputs, obviously, than a simple post-process filter could glean from a PS4 software. So I think it's a cool idea, but at the moment, it's kind of a nice-to-have feature. Don't buy a PS5 Pro for this. So basically the takeaway. But it's nice. It's nice to have it. It's nice to see Sony caring about this stuff, and I think it is kind of cool for these older PS4 titles in particular, where they can't take advantage of PS5 Pro very well normally, right? That we can go back and we can maybe get a post-process enhancement that could run on the GPU there. That could be nice.
Cool. John, you gave it a go as well, right?
Yeah, a couple thoughts I have. I really like what it does for 2D elements, like user interface, text, fonts. It makes them genuinely look like there is additional detail being resolved. It's not just like an upscale with sharpening. There is actually some additional detail there, which is really nice. But along those lines, I also tested Pixar games because I was a little bit concerned that it might interfere with the image quality there, and thankfully it does not. Cool. It actually produces, so it actually works well. For 1080p pixel art games, normally the PS5 would upscale it to 4K based on your output, and you would just get kind of a softer scale, right? So it makes the pixel art look a little bit softer than it probably should. With this feature enabled, it actually makes it look noticeably correctly scaled and sharpened without really adding noticeable artifacts to it, which is what I was worried about, given the different direction that they go with that kind of art. So that's a positive as well. Okay, for 3D stuff, though, it's like you said, Oliver, not game-changing, but interesting.
Yeah, like for instance, in Bloodborne, which is a game that has a ton of chromatic aberration and lots of aliasing, it kind of doesn't do much for the 3D content. But you look at the UI in Bloodborne, and it's like, wow, this is like almost 4K native UI. Like it looks really good, and it is creating detail in that text in particular that you would not see with like something like FSR1. It's quite compelling in that instance, but it's kind of, some games it's compelling, other games it's not. Most of the time it's like nice to have, but not essential to have, essentially.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to look forward to your full video on that one, Oliver. But
all right, so your thoughts quickly on the PlayStation 4 boost. You're gonna be whipping out Bloodborne again, Cold Blood.
No, but I might do some PS4 games because of it. So, just to see if there is a difference.
Not a horrible feature to have, but it's not gonna, the internet kind of went crazy, screaming their pants over some of these enhancements to Blood.
Yeah, I think they all thought it's gonna get the fucking 120 FPS boost, which it ain't happening. It ain't happening. Unless the developer goes back to it.
Yeah. Good to have, is trying to check all boxes. But yeah, just curb your expectations. All right, so now they're going to talk about game boost in Elden Ring and GPU bound games.
Let's move on. Okay then, so one of the key features of PlayStation 5 Professional is the fact that your existing PlayStation 5 games should in theory run better thanks to the Game Boost feature. So I had the pleasure of testing Game Boost, which we can now confirm deploys the full power or something close to it of the PlayStation 5 Pro to non-Pro games. They run faster, and we all know which game we had to test first, Elden Ring. I'm using the quality mode here, which runs at a fixed 4K with fixed quality settings. Both of those elements are kind of dynamic in the performance mode, but we'll get onto that shortly. Quality mode. So this is good for like comparisons to get some sort of grip on the performance differential. So here's the thing. You won't get a locked 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5 in PlayStation 5 Pro, rather, in quality mode. But you should comfortably remain within the 48 to 60 FPS VRR window for most play. Looking at the comparisons here, I've added real-time performance differentials expressed as percentages. But when the game does run at 60, obviously the GPU is underutilized, so the percentage will be lower. It's in areas of gameplay where the Pro is under 60 that you should see how much extra performance the Pro gives. Seems to max out at around 35%, a typical 30 to 35% delta. So yeah, not a locked 60 in quality mode. However, then I tested the frame rate mode, dynamic resolution, dynamic features. It should be locked to 60 easily, but it's not. So I'm guessing possibly the game's DRS system doesn't quite know what to do with the horsepower. There's also the possibility that we're CPU limited in some respect. Even so, VRR.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
And this is where optimization comes in.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I was thinking.
You got to understand that if you got a game that has dynamic resolution, that mofo is gonna go down and only use the damn CPU power instead of only the GPU power.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because the CPU is kind of the same as it was on a standard PS5, that's why we see these fucking drops.
Mm-hmm.
It's not using the GPU power at all.
Yeah.
And that's why the developer should go back to it. At least try to, what do you call it? Try to optimize it so the PS5 can use the GPU power more.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, if they don't do shit, it's gonna stay that way.
So yeah, it seems like you do get better performance, but you know they're not.
Yeah, you of course it's gonna brute force performance out of it, but it can't actually do the locked 60 like you would like to.
Yep. Good point. I will continue on.
We'll smooth this out. So the Pro, still the best place to play on consoles, even if it's not everything we want it to be. You gave this a go, didn't you, John?
Yeah, because this is a game that I played through on Xbox Series X. That was previously the best place to play it because of the wider VRR window, but obviously it regularly falls into the 40s. The PS5 Pro essentially solves that completely. As you say, performance mode in my testing was able to stay well in the VRR range pretty much all the time. So it's very smooth. And that's the mode I use on Xbox. And that PS5 also gets per object motion blur, which looks really good, which the Xbox version doesn't seem to use in that mode for some reason. And then what surprised me was that the quality mode is actually very usable now. And that runs better than performance mode on Xbox. And you get it now mostly stays in the VRR window, not 100% as your values show, but it's close, and it's usually in the 50s, and it's a noticeable boost in sort of like clarity, and it's still fluid. So I thought that was a huge improvement in my experience, and I kind of want to dig back into it because I did not play the DLC yet. But that means I gotta kind of start over and play through on PS5. I bought a physical copy in Japan and go through it. So let's do it.
Cool. I also did some tests against the PC version at quality mode settings equivalence, basically, or as close as we could get to it, up against the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. So fixed 4K there, fixed settings. I'm using an RX 6800 here, as many believe it offers pro-level performance. The thing is, though, the 6800, there are PC-style stutters throughout, but in terms of actual gameplay, it's way, way, way smoother. So I'm going to be interested to do more sort of quality comparisons, performance comparisons between various PC parts and the Pro based on real-world performance. Right now, all of the sort of conjecture about the performance of the PlayStation 5 Pro has been based on Sony's statement that it's 45% faster, but certainly Game Boost, it rarely gets there. I was also curious about ray tracing support on the Pro and whether Game Boost taps into the extra features, because the Pro has extra RT features, right?
So I personally want to pause there, Cold Blood. Is it just me? Like when John speaks versus when Richard speaks, Richard puts stuff more in a condescending light. Like he talks about the 45% power boost, but I thought that was advertised more towards the Pro enhanced games, not just overall. Or am I saying, like, I wouldn't expect a 45% performance boost on these PlayStation 4, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I would expect more of just a slight boost. And I'm gonna be honest with you, especially with Elden Ring, which we know have had problems, this is performing a lot better than I expected. Maybe it's just me. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, if you get more performance out of PS4 games without patching them, bro, give it to me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's no negative impact to you as a customer to have it.
Yeah.
It would be a different scenario if all of a sudden PS4 games start being fucking up on you on the PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
That would be a different conversation entirely, because actually this mode says if you have problems with a game, because they probably know that some of these games gonna have problems with it, you should turn this shit off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just hope this is not. I mean, it's maybe 1% of all games that have that issue. So I'm not gonna encounter it at all. But no, give me that shit. It's free performance.
I don't. Yeah, we were hoping more. Really? Well, I mean, were you guys just hoping more? This is performing better than I expected. I was not expecting much out, because when you look at the last performance boost that was on the 4 Pro, this seems significantly better than that. So I don't know. That just caught my eye, but I digress. We'll go back.
I was curious if the backwards compatibility would kick in with those features, similar to the way it does on a PC, but I don't think it does. So I'm using control in photo mode here, which unlocks frame rate, and of course, we have returned to the corridor of doom. The first comparison seems to offer a performance boost in the region of about 31%, kind of similar to the Elden Ring boosts. The following scene, again from the corridor of doom, 33% boost overall. Also did a couple of scenes outside the corridor, which are lighter. The Pro can run faster, still similar differentials overall, 33%. So back compat can't tie into the extra RT features of the Pro as far as I know. It just taps into the raw performance. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. I mean, it's great, but it has its limitations. I think there's genuine application in the 120 hertz mode. Devil May Cry here, special edition. You can unlock the game to run in 120 hertz mode. I'm using, first of all, graphics mode with ray tracing, which essentially removes the 60 FPS limit, so we always have that differential there. I tried the info in graphics mode. Very similar performance increases overall, but there are some instances where it does seem to go higher than that 35% threshold. Maybe it's the sampling rate on my performance comparisons there, which is higher in 120 hertz mode, but who knows? In performance mode, though, still with RT enabled, the differentials can go higher.
All right. Go ahead, brother.
Where's the actual FPS counter? Because I can see it on your stream.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me see something here. Let's go back.
I can see the percentage, how much the PS5 Pro runs better, but not the actual FPS.
Can see it.
No.
Because it was...
You have probably covered it up or something.
Here, let me play it. Oh, no, it's there. It's just, especially for the PlayStation 5 one, it's not covered up. It's just the color is blended so badly. Like they use a color that blends it so badly. Hold on 1 second. Let me see something.
No, where's the FPS counter on your video, bro? I don't see it. I mean, look at the stream. Because I think a lot of our chat is hella confused. Yeah, see, Twisted Sin says he can't see it. True, geek, true. Both have been doing it for 30 years and still can do it right.
Hold on, let me do something. Mm. Okay. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Duplicate web. Let's say web video vid web vid file. Excuse me. Okay. Now go here. Duplicate this. Copy. Let's paste it. Paste duplicate. Tab. This is going to have to come down here. We got to get this puppy right here. Delete. Remove. Remove that. Then do something. Come on. There we go. All right. There it goes. It was letterbox on the original, because this was in the web view, but I fixed that. Okay. So now we got that. Guys see that? Here we go. Okay. All right. Now we can.
A better high frame rate gameplay experience. I think you'd agree with that, right, John?
Absolutely, yeah. I think this is really important too, because this is one of those weird games that never received a PC update, right? It's only Devil May Cry 5 Standard Edition on PC without the ray tracing. And because of the performance demands of this game, DMC5 SE was never really possible to really enjoy the ray tracing mode, I felt. You had to settle for not a great frame rate if you wanted decent looking ray tracing. Finally, it feels like it runs the way you would expect. And I found the quality mode with ray tracing in VR to be absolutely excellent as a result. It stays pretty much above 60 by and large, and it just feels responsive and it looks great. And it's kind of become like the best looking way to play DMC5 now, which, by the way, it's still a stunning looking game.
Oliver, do you have any thoughts on Game Boost? Did you give it a go?
I did give Game Boost a go, and the first protocol for me was Metaphor Fantasio, because that game kind of infamously does not run at anything like a stable frame rate on PlayStation 5 consoles, on Xbox Series consoles, basically on anything almost. It runs at 1656p and it's like 40 to 60 FPS-ish on PS5. It's not a good experience. Totally like unlocked frame rate. It also has a 120 hertz mode, which again does not work well because the game dips even below the VRR window on PlayStation 5 quite frequently. I speculated in my video last month that PS5 Pro would basically fix it, and lo and behold, it has. It's basically a locked 60 FPS now. It's a very smooth experience, even in areas where the base console was really struggling. In spots, at the worst I saw was in a spot where the base console is like 44 FPS, 43 FPS. PS5 Pro was like 55, 56, 57. And that's like a pretty extreme scenario. So even without VRR, this game is totally saved. Great experience. And this is like probably the most challenged recent release I've seen on the consoles in terms of hitting a consistent frame rate. And it is obviously a very popular game now. Lots of people are playing it. And I think it's just about perfect now on PS5 Pro. So if you get the most powerful console in the world, you can have a game that looks about 10 years out of date running at a stable 60 FPS on a console. If you spend $700 on a console, that's pretty extraordinary. I also tried out a couple other games. One other game I tried out was FF16, which ran unlocked in its performance mode most of the time, much of the time, except in combat. John covered that, obviously. Weird behavior there. I did not play too much, but Pro unfortunately does not deliver a locked 60 FPS. It's like in the 50s a lot. I think what might be happening is the dynamic res is just kicking in and it's not load balancing in a way that we would like, probably, because it does have a dynamic resolution system. So it's kind of like there are some positives here, big positives with the boost potentially. And it does apply, by the way, to all games. There's no way to turn it off. It's just always using the whole GPU. That's important to note. There's no like PS4 Pro style game enhancement might break your games. In this case, they're just applying it to all games, it seems like. I think that even though it isn't like a gigantic improvement in some titles, because of dynamic res, because of VRR and lots of titles with unlocked modes, because of the occasional odd title like Metaphor Fantasio that's just like running in a slightly messed up manner, I think that there are probably a lot of examples here, and we're probably just scratching the surface a little bit of what can be done with this. But yeah, I think there are a lot of games probably that will get decent enhancements from Game Boost, and that will really help people with like big libraries play older titles, that especially that might have VRR modes. You know, those unlocked VRR modes in lots of games, they don't run so well necessarily on base PS5. Maybe they'll run quite a bit better on PS5 Pro.
I have a few more to chime in as well here very briefly. Silent Hill 2 benefits that may receive a patch, actually, I'm not sure, but that essentially eliminates the stuttering issues that I noticed. It smooths out both performance and quality mode. So performance mode is now mostly 60 with a couple of little dips here and there, but VRR smooths that out, but it's very close. The 30 FPS mode on base PS4 actually had a lot of slowdown, which was extremely shocking. Anytime you would be attacked by certain enemies, and that is also eliminated, as well as the running around stutters that it suffered from. It's just a lot more consistent. Silent Hill, the short message, that little hexadrive free Silent Hill experience, also fixed now, runs at 60 FPS properly, whereas before it was extremely unstable. So that's a huge improvement there. Suicide Squad, I randomly tested, and I didn't spend too much time with it, but it seemed to, those sort of skips and stutters and dips that I saw in the city have largely been cleaned up, but maybe they're also cleaned up on the base system, but it definitely felt better in my experience. Then there's 3 others to quickly mention. Ghostwire Tokyo, it gets much closer, but not locked to by any means the 120 hertz output. So you can play that game in 120 hertz mode, and it actually allows the frame rate to be uncapped. And in the quality mode now, you're getting mostly north of 60. And the performance mode is north of 100, I believe. So it is noticeably smoother, which is interesting. But it still has some weird little like hiccups and stutters, which the game has always suffered from. So it did not fully fix it, but it is smoother. Armored Core 6 as well. This was a From Software joint. It ran better than Elden Ring ever did, but it still had dips on actual... on the regular PS5. It's cleaned up in my experience. That was my game of the year when it came out last year, I guess. And it's freaking awesome. And now it's actually quite a bit better on PS5. Lastly, GT7's patch hasn't launched yet, and I decided to try it out. And what was interesting about this now is you can run it at native 4K mode in the 120 hertz mode, and now it achieves a completely locked 120 FPS playback in native 4K mode, which previously it was in like the 80 to 90 FPS range with the uncapped VRR mode. Now it's just flat 120. You also get 120 FPS replays, which excellent. There can be tiny little dips here and there, but like I've never seen replays this smooth in GT before. So it's quite a treat. And weirdly, I would assume that these options might go away once it's patched. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I want to touch on that. So because we're seeing a lot of debate, cold blood, with people like, oh, it's only 6 more teraflops. Oh my God, just build a PC. It's 6 more teraflops. I think they split the memory. You know, they got 2 that are just allocated to the system. And how much do they have for gaming? God.
I think 16.
16. So they actually split the memory, which I'm pretty sure will enhance a lot of shit and is behind a lot of these enhancement. But it sounds like that the raw power is there. I mean, we're seeing up to additional 30 frames on games that don't even have the pro enhancement, like how they talked about it. Now, granted, GT7 is a racing game, but still, that's a significant boost. Yeah, that's a significant. So I mean,
No, the more listen, the more I hear, the more I just want a mofo in my fucking house and play that shit.
Yeah. I was
besides Alan Wake, that shit is an insult.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Again, I think you got haters on the periphery that are trying to pick out flaws and say, yeah, there's a flaw in this game. So yeah, it's not worth it. Those are haters, extreme haters. Yeah, to me that's hella oppressive, just in the raw power. But I'm not getting the PlayStation 5 Pro for the raw power. I'm getting it because it's this advanced tech based off of PSSR, the AI and the machine learning, that can do so much with gaming. But knowing that the raw power is this goddamn powerful, like you said, it's like, I want this motherfucker ASAP. But let's continue through, because we only got 30 minutes before my wife gets here and I got to run and get that Pro. So let's kind of get through this. Let's talk. Okay, let's just skip to the CPU bound games, see what they got to say about that.
Titles, but let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to move on to actual game performance and what the new features of the PlayStation 5 Professional mean for all of that. And we're going to kick off with the element that's probably most contentious about it, which is the fact that the CPU isn't really changed at all from the base PlayStation 5. This is slightly problematic because we have found a number of games where there are CPU limitations. I'm going to quickly cycle back to Game Boost first of all, because there's actually a mode on PlayStation 5 Pro where developers can actually opt in to having 10% extra CPU clock, and that comes at the expense of a little bit of GPU performance. So I tested it in Cyberpunk 2077, which hasn't been patched, but this is the classic Cherry Blossom Marketplace run. It's not quite fully synchronized here, but you can definitely see what's happening. Running around that marketplace in a circle, the frame rate dips beneath 60 frames per second, and the dip is considerably more pronounced on the base model. Still not quite 60 on the Pro model though, but you can look at the performance differentials there, and it's exactly in line with what you would expect from an extra 10% of CPU clock. So we can confirm that Game Boost isn't just boosting graphics performance, you are getting that 10% of extra CPU clock. The other test I did, and this one is for a Pro enhanced game, and that is Baldur's Gate 3, the classic city run. Act 3, we've got a save that's like 100 hours in, and we can actually do a run through the city. And you can see that on the left there, the base PlayStation 5, on the right is the Pro enhanced version of the game. We're still CPU limited, and you'll see that similar to Cyberpunk, the performance differentials are again in line with a modest bump to CPU clock. So, Oliver, I think this is probably the primary limitation. I mean, a lot of people are looking at PlayStation 5 Pro thinking, should I give up my PC or should I stick with PlayStation and not move to PC? And I think the defining limitation of the Pro, which we've got to accept, is that even mainstream CPU performance now in the PC space is significantly better than the Zen 2 in the PlayStation 5 Pro. So you've kind of got to accept that limitation with the Pro, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a mid-gen refresh console, so the emphasis is obviously not on some of those more kind of fundamental areas of the console design, I would say, like the CPU. But here, I mean, right now, high-end PC CPUs are about twice as fast as the PlayStation 5 Pro's CPU. But I think what we're seeing in most titles nowadays that target console hardware is that basically they are mostly delivering 60 FPS. Like, I don't think we're in quite a cataclysm of games that are failing to hit their performance targets on console. I think most games are basically there, plus or minus some stutters and issues like that. But obviously in titles like Baldur's Gate, obviously in some more CPU limited games, like you mentioned with Cyberpunk in certain areas, you do run into some problems, and there the PS5 Pro will not save you. it might be good for an extra 10% of performance, but it's not going to. It's not going to save your performance. It's not going to be that kind of generational leap in CPU performance that would actually fix those problems. Yeah. But the 10% is nice. I mean, it's nice to have something at least.
Absolutely. Games that are slightly off their performance targets due to CPU limits will see a boost there. And, you know, I honestly think that you should be running a VR.
Hold on. This is my question. I know Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the 50 games that are going to be enhanced at launch. But did they have the PS5 Pro enhanced version? I don't think they did. I think they're just running this off of pure power. So I don't know. I don't know if this is an actual, I mean, I get this is a tech analysis, but I would like clarity on that. I would like clarity to know if they're actually playing with the PSSR in hand. You know what I'm saying? So that's important as well. I don't know. Did you hear anything, Cold Blood, that this was? I don't think this was the PS5 Pro enhanced version of Baldur's Gate 3.
I think this is just pure brute forcing power.
Okay.
I don't think that is actually the enhanced version.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's not. And I think this is all right. And this is why you guys come here, because we look at shit beyond the veil. Because I see a lot of bots running on the internet showing that clip, and they're making it seem like this was the pro enhanced version of the game. No, they're just showing you the raw power. This is not the pro, from what we understand. This is not the pro enhanced version of Baldur's Gate, even though they're showing you what's going on in a particular severely bottlenecked area. This is not the pro enhanced version of the game. This is them just running the game using raw power and just showing you what the raw power will give you, you know, on CPU bottleneck games. This is that part of it, and I wish they would identify it, which again, Richard, I don't know. I mean, people are sitting there trolling, saying you're part of Xbox now, and this is all IGN, you know, influence. I can't argue with them if this isn't a pro enhanced version of Baldur's Gate 3, because what you're going to do with the pro enhanced version is you're going to have modifications done to resolution. You're going to have shit done to the game that was done with Dragon's Dogma using PSSR, where you have maybe less native resolution, but because of that AI and machine learning technology, you still get great visuals and you get better frame performance. I just want to be abundantly clear that I don't see definitive proof that this is the pro enhanced version of Baldur's Gate 3. And if not, I'm questioning why they're not making it abundantly clear. Is there an agenda here? If it is, then you got something to, even though that's supposed to be just one specific area, then it's a credible knock. But if this is not the pro enhanced version of Baldur's Gate 3, then we got a problem on how this is framed. We'll continue. Let's see, what's next? Ray tracing upgrades. Okay. I don't think that was it. I'm going to skip ray tracing upgrades, Cold Blood, and I'm just going to go to PSSR testing, only because we're running short on time.
When they're specifically targeting the Pro. Right, okay, let's move on. Let's talk about PSSR, the AI-based upscaling solution. I'm not sure how much we can actually add to the coverage we've already done with Ratchet & Clank and The Last of Us Part 2. That was during the pre-release period. But I guess we have now played more games. We have now got more impressions. And I think it's fair to say that similar to what we've seen with DLSS and FSR2 on PC, the success of PSSR basically changes the success level, the quality level, if you like, changes on an implementation based basis from one title to the next. John, you got any notes about PSSR in the games you've tested?
Oh boy, do I, Rich. There are some huge improvements here. FF7 Rebirth is arguably the largest one, but we'll get to that. But the one that surprised me that hasn't been talked about yet is Stellar Blade. I love Stellar Blade, but its original display modes.
Hold on, I gotta pause. Oh shit, I just creamed my pants. Did he say Stellar Blade? Oh shit. Someone give me a wet towel. Stop, I'm sorry. Let's go back. Hear what he has to say.
Have what I would say is relatively poor TAA implementation with a lot of noise, shimmering, sparkle. If you just stand still and look at the image, you actually see this noise in motion, and it does not look good. And I talked about this in my original video. Only the balanced mode was okay, but even that was somewhat noisy. So for the PS5 Pro patch, they've actually added 2 modes. One of them I think is very strange. The other one is amazing. So the amazing one uses PSSR instead of the prior TAA solution.
Oh, shit.
And it also unlocks a high frame rate mode, which relies on VRR. And this one's that's a little bit weird because it does switch to 120 hertz output, but it seems to essentially cap itself at 80 frames per second, which they specify in their update text is like, you can enjoy it at 80 frames per second. So the game runs at 80 FPS then with VRR then. So it does feel noticeably smoother. It's just, I feel like it could possibly go higher.
Yeah, to 90.
Cutscenes though are always limited to 60. So they come back down. But either way, 60, 80, it is very nice looking now on a good screen. That is for sure. And if you're not on a VRR screen, you just get 60 FPS, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, PSSR though, my goodness, it completely changes the image and it just resolves so much more detail and cleans up so much noise, and it winds up massively improving the visuals overall, I would say. In what was a somewhat dirty looking game at times, it makes it look super smooth and clean, and it is a gigantic leap. It's probably the best implementation I've seen yet, just in terms of improving overall image quality maybe, and stability. Stability is key. It's temporally stable now, whereas before it was not. Which is why the Pro Max mode, as they call it, taking one from Apple perhaps, is so strange. That one, with high frame rate mode engaged anyway, limits itself to 50 frames per second. And the way they describe this is essentially, this is the original version's quality mode, which was kept at 30 frames per second, but now it runs at 50 frames per second. But it does not use PSSR. It uses the original TAA, but it's native 4K. But the thing is that even though it's a lower internal res, the PSSR mode looks significantly better than the native 4K image with TAA.
Wow.
Like,
did y'all hear that shit?
It just
Hold
the
on,
detail.
pause that. Did y'all hear that shit? The lower internal resolution looks better than the native resolution. I told y'all, this AI and machine learning technology, when implemented right, is going to blow your fucking minds. It's going to change the game. Now, I'm not saying all games are going to be like this, but when used right, like Sony sat down with these motherfuckers because they're publishing the game on PlayStation, right? And they're utilizing the technology to the best of their abilities. So when more people start doing that, or as the AI and machine learning becomes more advanced over time, naturally, or organically rather, you're gonna see more of this. This is just the beginning. This is also pre-launch. This is before the millions of motherfuckers get their hands on this. I tried to tell you guys this. You guys laughed, and I understand. Google's a funny company. I get it. Hee hee ha ha. But I tried to tell y'all, fuck all that superficial shit. Pay attention to the tech. Not necessarily the product, but the tech. I pointed y'all to Rebel FM when y'all was laughing at the predictive controlling. Oh, that is not going to work. It's already being used in Call of Duty. Did you, again, it's called delayed grad. I love it when I point something out to y'all, y'all laugh, and then I just sit back and wait and be like, okay, it's gonna come to fruition. And when it comes to fruition, this is my ha-ha moment. You're gonna see more and more of this as the AI and machine learning gets better in its training and more people get more accustomed to the implementation of it. You're going to run into more situations where, just like Digital Foundry is fucking telling you, the PSSR AI and machine learning version looks better than the fucking native version. I digress, and I'll continue. Stellar yams!
Everything, the way the temporal stability, it's all improved, which is why I feel like the Pro Max mode ends up being kind of useless, because I think the image quality is technically worse, even if the resolution is higher, and it's capped at 50 frames per second if you're on HFR. Otherwise, it's just the 30 FPS quality mode on a non-VR 120 hertz screen. So there's weirdness there, but if you can use, I recommend the normal Pro mode with PSSR. That's a game changer, just like it was. We've talked about this before with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Again, seeing more areas in that, it makes such a difference. It is so much sharper and cleaner than the original version, and it runs very smooth now. I feel like even with the visual flaws the game has, it just feels much more coherent now, because the muddy, smeary look of the game originally kind of just made the assets that didn't look good, it made them look a lot worse. And it did not elevate the good assets.
You fixated on them a bit.
Right. Yeah. You fixated on them. That's all gone now. And it just feels so much better as a result. So I really want to play through the game now, because it makes a difference. Another one, though, that I wanted to mention is actually Demon's Souls, the remake from Bluepoint, which, again, in its original state, they had a 1440p mode at 60 and a native 4K mode at 30. And I think the PSSR mode, which is 60 FPS, looks better than both. You maybe get a little additional detail resolved in the native 4K mode, but there's much more, there's more stair-stepping aliasing within the surfaces, and just more visual noise. Like, it's less effective as a TAA. The TAA is less effective in that original 4K 30 mode. And as a result, the new PSSR mode, it's so much more temporally stable, and it resolves more detail in a way that I find much cleaner and more visually nice. I also discovered, I haven't played this game since launch. I loaded up I did a New Game Plus on my finished save, and boy, the New Game Plus mode, or whatever, the second round is extremely hard. It is way harder than the normal game. Wow. So I didn't get that far in this, because I only have this save here available. So it's that first area again, getting creamed by these enemies. But man, it sure looks good while it's happening.
Let's talk about a game that doesn't use PSSR but has insanely good image quality. Horizon Forbidden West, and I assume the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster as well. Yep. Oliver, you've had a lot of great things to say about that based on your time at the event, right? But John, you've now spent some time with it on your home setup. What do you think?
I think they might have achieved arguably just about the best image quality I've seen in a console game.
Really?
It's so good. When you consider the density of the visuals, how much detail is in them, the way it resolves that detail and presents it is so clean and attractive that it's honestly mind-boggling. It looks really, really good. It feels like you're playing a high-end PC game now, using everything that you could throw at it from the PC side. That's the upgrade I feel here. It's stunning, and there's so much granular detail in the distance, the grass, the rocks, everything. It does not, I mean, the game is very visually busy, right? And this just does it justice in a way that the original modes did not, especially the original performance mode and even the updated performance mode. It's light years beyond that. And yeah, I would say of all the titles we tested, this is the one that has the best image quality overall. There is weirdly still a quality mode that also uses this, and it is slightly better, I guess, but I really don't feel like it's necessary. The performance one is extremely close.
Gorilla told me all that does is like increase the dynamic res internally a little bit, but they also said that friends don't let friends play at 30 hertz.
Good. So they know now. Yeah,
they know it. I mean, the closest analog to me is something like DLSS, where the image is just like in games with good DLSS 2 implementations. It's just super smooth, super stable, handling varied content very well. Horizon is a game with quite challenging, I think, content possibly for these upscaling solutions. Has a lot of foliage, has hair, has a lot of complex movement when you're doing combat and stuff like that. Everything I threw at it, perfect. Just like looked awesome. Foliage looked great. Like the old, I thought the old checkerboard mostly looked fine, but again, you go back to that and you look at the foliage and it's like, no, it's not nearly as good as this.
Big upgrade.
It's a huge upgrade.
I thought it looked fine until I saw DLSS on the PC version, and side by side, lower resolutions via DLSS are looking better than the checkerboard solution on the PS5, but it looks as though that's been supremely addressed with this upgrade for the PlayStation 5 Pro here. Very, very good stuff.
I also just wanted to mention, because I did my own testing on PSSR, quite a bit of testing on PSSR, going through a bunch of games, a bit of a gauntlet of games. And yeah, I would say Horizon for.
Yes, sir.
This might be finally the time to play the DLC of Horizon.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, that's that is a good point. Yeah, man. This my mind is fucking blown, bro. Like, they're doing this shit already. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, we're running short on time. We got less than 10 minutes. I hate to do this. So let's just go to their final point. They talk about is it worth it? Let's see some of that.
Prices seem to ratchet up even more in Europe. I think partly because of the VAT side of things.
Europe and Japan are real bad.
Yep. And then you've basically, if you are invested in the physical media, which a lot of the audience are going to be, bearing in mind, who it's targeted at, you've basically got to buy that $80 optical drive. It's £100 in the UK, which is remarkable.
120 in Europe.
And then there's the whole concept of the stand that I paid £25 for. Yeah, it's expensive. But John, I would like your impressions first. Do you think this is like a luxury item? What's your takeaway here?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I mean, clearly, when you look at the price point, yes, it is a luxury item for sure. More so than the PS4 Pro, I think, which was priced to essentially replace the base PS4, right? That's not the case here. And it becomes even worse. You mentioned the disk drive MSRPs, but good luck getting one at the MSRP right now. They are exceptionally pricey online as a result of low stock. So I hope Sony can resolve that quickly enough. But there are things about it that are a little like, people loved in the unboxing the way you tore open that packaging like Hulk, right? It was funny, if a bit excessive. Problem is like for a product that costs north of 500 in every region at this price level, I really feel like they let people down in terms of the packaging. It doesn't really matter for the overall product, but like you expect something a little bit more premium, right? Like you can still have that Apple.
That sounds a little whiny, but I'm kind of with him there. I'm with him there a little bit. It's not a deal breaker at all, but I would have liked to see just a little bit better packaging. But again, you got to remember, the product and its pricing is all about margins. It's all about margins. So, anything that was going to flatten margins or decrease margins, even by adding some sparkle or some sheen to the package, right? Because this is a collector's item, so you would hope that the packaging is a little bit better, some type of matte finish or whatever. They didn't go for it. That is unfortunate, because this is going to be a collector's item in a lot of ways too. So, I do agree with that.
Like experience. I mean, Microsoft does it with the Xbox Series X, I would say, which feels very premium when you open that box. Like just having that flimsy cardboard sleeve and this like artery slicing the cardboard in there. It's very cheaply put together. And I don't buy sustainability arguments because Microsoft's packaging is also sustainable. They could have done better there. But ultimately, that's just that initial user experience, the first consumer moment of truth, as they say. And then when you get to the product itself, it's targeted towards people like us, I think, right? We have an eye for this stuff. We do appreciate those details. We notice them. I think there is definitely going to be a subset of people that will not be able to spot differences. There's not going to be anything major where they'll be like, wow, this is a huge upgrade. It's more like it has some nice improvements, but not game-changing improvements. But also, it's like it kind of fixes problems in certain other games as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like a way to improve games that maybe had issues in the past, like Elden Ring. Which is you can't really sell a product on that, but that is a thing that it does, which is nice. So I like it. I think it's a nice machine.
I agree with that. I think mid-gen refresh is more or less to add a little bit more shine and luster to your base model. It's not to be a next generation pivotal thing. And in that case, it fixes problems. And in this generation, it's not PlayStation's fault because they never made these promises. Xbox did. But there was this belief that you were going to get more 4K 60. And to none of PlayStation's fault, that had become an expectation. Well, PlayStation answered the call, even though that wasn't an expectation they set. And in this case, it is going to be a little bit pricey. You know what I mean? But I mean, if you have that expectation, and they have a solution for you where nobody else in the console space has the solution. And that's PSSR. I mean, what I just saw with Stellar Blade was fucking amazing. We can keep going.
Want this either way, because I do play a lot of console games still. I think they've made some strange decisions with like the disk drive not being included by default. It lives up to that pro name, I guess. If you feel like you are actually a console professional, as we are, then yeah, that's probably a good thing to go for. But if you're somebody that's not like super tuned into these things and don't really notice a lot of these flaws, or if you're using a much smaller or older TV and you sit further away from it, I think that also influences things where you probably won't be able to see it. But if you're like me using a fairly big TV, I think Rich and I were both using 77-inch now, and I sit rather close to it, so the benefit is extremely obvious to me. But yeah,
he's going on. We got to skip.
High res displays. That's also.
Let's go to
HQ. I asked you exactly the same question, and I'm guessing that your opinion probably hasn't changed that much.
Probably not. No, I basically have the same opinion, which is that I think it's very compelling hardware. I think that a lot of the mix that you'd want out of a more advanced console, possibly even a next-gen console, is here, in terms of an improvement in RT capability that's big, machine learning capability, obviously faster raster performance. It's improving where it matters for a mid-gen refresh model. That's especially important here because there's kind of an open mandate for developers in terms of what they do. If they add PSSR, if they add ray tracing, if they improve resolution, It's not like PS4 Pro, where the target was squarely on high-res displays. That's also kind of here with 8K, although I expect 8K will be a fairly marginal feature. Not a lot of games will support it, I suspect, personally. It's going to be much more about like these settings improvements and image quality improvements that you might get from PSSR and things like this. More interesting things that developers will hopefully do with the console. At the same time, I think the early software, there's some really strong efforts from Sony in particular, from Square Enix. There's some very strong stuff there where you're basically getting 4K 60 performance modes, subjectively speaking, good-looking 4K 60 performance modes with PSSR in a lot of titles. In Horizon without PSSR, but incredible image quality there. You're getting really, really high-quality software that is taking advantage of the console in a good way, especially for early efforts. But there are also some games that aren't faring so well. Obviously, we talked about Dragon Age, we talked about Dragon's Dogma, we talked about Alan Wake a little bit in some image quality aspects, at least in Alan Wake. So I do think that developers maybe need to get to grips with the hardware a bit more. Maybe target resolutions might need to change. Output resolutions might need to change. Things like this, visual features might need to change in terms of what developers are targeting for their pro modes as well. But overall, I like new console hardware. And the PS5 Pro is very bold and interesting new console hardware, breaking some new ground and creating a new class of experiences, importantly, above PS5, above Series X, something that's going to give you the best experience on consoles in all likelihood for most software. And I'm looking forward to covering it. I'm looking forward to seeing what developers do with it.
So I think we got a fair synopsis. And then I didn't get to Richard Ledbetter's, but you guys can watch that full review for all that. So Cold Blood, let's get to it, brother. Based upon their review, what are your thoughts? Are you more excited, less excited, still the same? What are your thoughts?
Well, I was already excited from the few games we saw running on the Pro. But now that we know even games that don't have Pro enhanced can be fucking enhanced.
Yeah.
That makes me fucking happy. Seriously happy.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. I did not.
Is it? No, look. Is it perfect? No.
No.
It's not.
No.
But it sure shit is better than just build a PC. Bruh, fuck off with that shit. These dudes have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Stop listening to them.
Please do yourself that favor. Stop listening. Yeah, I would. Yeah, that part surprised me that the boosts, and I think Richard was a little bit more condescending and more critical than necessary. And I get this is a tech thing and they're breaking things down to a tech level, but that boost within itself, I think, was better than people expected, than consumers expected. And you guys are not just doing a tech breakdown, you are actually trying to gauge the worth of this console. So if everybody's focused on PSSR and what it's doing in newer games, and then we're seeing how it's boosting up older games or games that aren't even Pro enhanced, and it's performing better than the average consumer would expect, I think break down the raw numbers and then rate it based upon the expectations of the consumer. Yes, I think it was a little bit more critical than needed to be. I was pleasantly surprised to hear. I'm gonna tell you one thing that sold me, and where as soon as I hear my wife go through that fucking door, we're out of here. To hear that PSSR already, bro, and again, it's just Stellar Blade, but to hear that PSSR already has the technology looking better than a native 4K version. That just, and again, don't expect that in every game. Don't expect it, definitely not at launch, but don't expect that. That just tells me that PSSR is a game changer. And as far as gaming together, when it comes to AI and machine learning, it years down the road, it could become the creme de la creme. DLSS wasn't that good at launch. It was good, but it wasn't as good as there weren't any examples like that with DLSS at launch. Not that I heard of. In a game like Stellar Blade, That's going to be sick. So, yeah, I put a tweet out there because people were out there capping, and I let them know, you know, again, trying to use that Baldur's Gate 3 footage is crazy. I don't even know if that was pro enhanced, but seeing what's going on with PSSR, yeah, I can't wait. So with that said, yeah, that's our PS5 Pro presentation. I thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for the support. We will be back here tomorrow. Probably later. Yep.
The pisser is gonna piss on their parade. That's where we should end it.
It's gonna piss on their parade. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be here tomorrow with some footage, hopefully. Stay tuned. Yeah, we're out of here. Till then, have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.